deferring, and please adhere to the 5-minute time limit. Just of note, for those of you who printed up the draft resolution that was agenda that was online, the issue with regard to the parks in Rahway is not a part of the actual agenda, the final agenda for today. So any comments relative to that will be for the public comment portion, not the resolution comment portion at this time.
Push my 5 minutes to somebody else who has a long speech? No? Okay. I actually hate to get up here and complain after all these nice people have said such wonderful things, but this is no reflection on them. I was so naive these past months, hoping that anything I might say would or could reach you, but now I know the serenity of our park and the history of our park means nothing to you. As one freeholder said to an elderly gentleman at the Rahway Muppet Show, it is how the county will benefit from such a stadium through revenue that will come in. You haven't won yet, and we will fight you win or lose what we know is right. America has become nothing but greedy, hungry, money-hungry politicians, and the people are sick of political figures we put in office, never listening to us, and constantly spending our tax money and walking over us on issues we fight for. The coalition is not going away anytime soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, good evening, freeholders. My name is Jeff Robinson. I'm from Rahway, New Jersey. I also happen to be the chair of the Rahway Environmental Commission. And as you can imagine, our commission has been following the proposed upgrades for the field in Rahway River Park with much interest and a bit of concern. So it was with a lot of anticipation that we attended the July 1st county presentation for the plans for this proposed upgrade. Unfortunately, we left disappointed, like I'm sure many others. The presentation covered the physical layout of the upgrades and all the related structures, and it answered a lot of questions, not all the questions, but it totally ignored the really important aspect of it, and that's the usage of this facility. And in fact, we weren't even allowed to ask questions regarding the usage of the facility. So, on behalf of the Environmental Commission, I'm here tonight to ask a few of these questions and hopefully have answers. First of all, the fact that it's an artificial turf field indicates strongly that it's going to undergo extensive use. So, what kind of use is that going to be? We know that Rahway High School football games will be held there, soccer games, and the Rahway High School track and field team will have meets there. What other type of athletic events, sporting events will be held there? How often? Will there be championship events held there? Track and field championships? Will there be playoff games? How often? Will there be non-sporting, non-athletic events held at this facility? If so, how often? Weekly, month, few a month? We don't know. Also, how many of these events, whether it's sporting or non-sporting, will be held at night under the lights as opposed to during the daytime? So, in other words, what's the county's business plan for this facility, in other words? So to speak, the business plan, and who are going to be the customers? That was totally unanswered, not even addressed at this presentation on July 1st. And hand in hand with that is the parking and the traffic issue. Now that was addressed, but just very briefly. The county admitted that they didn't really have too much of a plan set up. They did say at this meeting that there would be shuttle buses, which is no surprise for some of the major events like Rahway football games. But that was it. Questions we have, like where will these shuttle buses park? Would it be mandatory for spectators attending these events to use the shuttle buses? Or during athletic events and other events, is the park going to be just overloaded with traffic coming in, with people trying to find spaces to park? Will regular users of the park who just go to walk around, jog, picnic, will they have to compete with maybe hundreds of cars coming in looking for parking during sporting events. As you know, there's only 2 ways in and out of this park, and neither of them have lights. Another question, was a traffic study done by the engineering firm that you hired to present this physical layout of the facility? These are all questions that were not answered and are probably just as important, if not more important, than the actual layout of the field. So, again, we would like answers. I think the citizens do deserve answers to these questions. So, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much for your time. Anyone else wishing to be heard?
Stan Majeski, Rahway, New Jersey. We went to the meeting that when the engineers were there, and it was just an unproductive meeting. It didn't relate to us not at all. It wouldn't really answer our questions or anything like that. And you know, the taxpayers are furious over this stadium. They're trying to build something in a historic park. And you know, at the end of the meeting, that's why everybody at the meeting booed these people, because they didn't get the results that they really wanted to get. Okay, this stadium, Rahway Park, that you want to build looks like a money-making deal for the freeholders and the Rahway Council. That's what it seems to us. As we overheard at the meeting, it's not just for recreation; it's to make money. Okay. Then we went to the Rahway Council meeting the past Monday. The administrator there, Mrs. Roundtree, talked about how it would cost to fix Veterans Field. She said tens of millions of dollars. She repeated that at the other previous meeting. She said the same thing. It would cost tens of millions of dollars. We know that's not true, okay? She also talked about buying property to build a stadium. She said it would be too costly and that there was no way they'd be able to afford this without the freeholders and their money, okay? We the people do not need a football stadium in a historic park in Rahway. Take it somewhere else. The taxpayers have spoken, and all the people that use the park have spoken too. Amen. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Freeman from Rahway. Forgive me for a bit of redundancy on the previous excellent speakers. I who stand here to oppose the current inappropriate stadium plan have at every opportunity, not that many, but at every opportunity, voted for school budgets. And should a fiscally and environmentally sound stadium plan arise, I shall support it even to buying bonds myself. I come not to pit nature lovers against athletes, nor Union County against Rahway, but to support them all against the politicians of both communities who, by their mismanagement, have fostered the illusion that one good must be destroyed to serve another. One aspect of that mismanagement, time for some traffic problems in Rahway. Forgive me for a bit of redundancy here. After months of obfuscation, the plan for the inappropriate siting of a 1,200-seat stadium in Rahway River Park was presented to the people. Would that plan be published? We were told that that was not a requirement. Is this how you show your respect for the people who elected you? Parking was not needed, we were told, because spectators would be bussed in from satellite lots elsewhere in Rahway. Just how would the miracle be accomplished of making folks wait to be shepherded onto buses twice instead of just driving to and from the park? At the Rahway Council meeting July 13th, I was treated to more wonders. One council member, the name eludes me, cited the presence of thousands of people in the park as evidence, somehow, that the park could easily absorb 1,000 or so more. Curious logic indeed. And business manager Sharon Roundtree repeated her contention that traffic congestion was not an issue, as Rahway football would bring at most 400 to 500 spectators for a short time in the fall. Of course, ignoring the other Rahway teams, but after the meeting adjourned, when I counted that the county has vowed to fill the stadium with events year-round, she replied, "They never said that. Show me where they said that." I did not have in my hand that Monday evening, but I have it here. The county freeholders' own leaflet presented at the March 2015 meeting. Like all our 36 county parks, Rahway River Park is for the enjoyment of all county residents as well as visitors from outside of Union County. We routinely partner with schools, recreation departments, athletic leagues, and other organizations in Rahway and our other 20 municipalities to schedule events and activities. As has been the case throughout the history of our parks, Union County is growing and demands on our recreational facilities are growing too. So that's where you said it. I wish Erin Roundtree were here to hear this now, but she's listening?
Yeah.
Good. Good. I imagine she'll hear it. And curiouser, Ms. Roundtree claimed that Union County had great difficulty filling the stadium in Elizabeth. Why, then, I asked, should Union County spend $2.6 million on another stadium? Her astounding reply, that's their problem. If this is the degree of faith these two misgoverned bodies place in each other, how can we, the citizens they were elected to represent, trust them?
Thank you very much. Next person.
Give me just a second, I want to show you something, if you don't mind.
Still within 5 minutes.
Well, give me a second to set it up, and then give me 5 minutes if you don't mind. Have somebody speak right. I think you're fine, second.
You need some help?
No, I'm good. Scott Abuda, Clark, New Jersey. In reference to the meeting on July 1st, the engineer was unable to answer what the stadium complex dimensions were. All he could say was it's a 400-meter track. I've used the word stadium as Freeholder Estrada described it at the meeting. I spoke to him after the meeting, the engineer, and he said that Warnaco Stadium was exactly the same size. So we went and measured all of it, the fields, the lights, the bleachers, the walkways. We gave that data to one of our members, who's a senior level architect, who lives in Rahway. He's produced a series of 3D renderings, and here are a few of them. He has made observations and drawn logical conclusions to solve the obvious problems with the misleading presentation on July 1st. Here's Neglia's plan. This is the same plan that we've been waving at you for 5 months. The plans you claim didn't exist. You can see that this sports complex will dominate the park, so you might as well rename it Rahway Stadium Park. This is a rendering, is a view of the park with the bleachers. These are the bleachers that are required to put 800 people on one side, 400 people on the other side. These are the 7-story tall light fixtures that will dominate the park. They're taller than any of the trees in the park. There are 15, here you go. There are 15 light fixtures on each one of the poles, okay? These bleachers are made of clear anodized aluminum, so they are bright. They don't fade into the landscape. They're going to stand out like a sore thumb. This is the field house, the 25-foot by 56-foot long field house. This is one of the pavilions, one of the 2 pavilions that are going to be put there. The fence doesn't really show in this rendering, and the scoreboard doesn't look very big, but it's 20 feet wide, 20 feet high, 18 feet wide. This is a view, this is an aerial view of the stadium. These were done by this architect. It's a program called SketchUp. And so, you know, you can, in the program, you can move around the park and look at this from many different views. So the conclusions that he's drawn, and this one of these big issues for us is traffic. And we know that the park will hold 410 cars, because the last time I was there a few weeks ago when it was packed, I counted every car in the park. It wasn't one parking spot, it was 410 parking. The field is a high school field, right? And it's going to need, it's going to have to conform to regulation. So there's going to be handicap access, you're going to need fire trucks, you're going to need EMT, you're going to need police. They've got to have access directly to the field. So this idea that you can have shuttle buses that are going to take care of the parking problem is, you know, it's not realistic. So what this architect has worked on that problem and discovered that what was really required is a parking lot. And this parking lot is going to be the best place for it, makes sense with the existing parking, is going to be along the tennis courts. Okay, so right over here, and this parking lot comes right up to the field.
Okay.
One of the other conclusions that he's drawn is that you can't have a high school football stadium where the athletes don't have locker rooms. They can't share the public bathrooms with the public. You can't have the team go to the bathrooms at halftime. There's going to have to be a field house with lockers and showers, and you know that's going to have to occur. There's no place for it in the field, so he has tucked it in over here near the parking lot. This it would be 30 feet wide and 80 feet long.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Sure. Would you like to look at these?
I'd like to.
You can give them to our clerk.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to give them to the clerk.
Next speaker, please. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Greg Robert. I'm from Elizabeth. I'm here concerning the park. I attended the July 1st meeting in Rahway. When it was over, we were given the handout that showed a map of the proposed track and field. The track and field includes running events, jumping events, and throwing events. The location of the facilities for the running events and jumping events seems clear. However, the throwing event facilities are confusing. One circle is labeled discus/javelin area. The javelin is not thrown from a circle or a ring. The map includes throwing circles for a shot put in discus that appear small and insignificant compared to the proposed track and field. However, if you want a more accurate picture, take a 3.5-mile ride down St. George Avenue from Rahway River Park to Warnaco Park. Right around to the north side of the park, and you will see the new track and field that was just completed this past December. It is easy to spot the throwing rings for shot put and discus. They are surrounded by safety cages made up of poles and netting. The cage with 4 poles is the shot put ring, the one with 7 poles is the discus ring. While you're in Warnaco Park, take a look at the stands. They're the same 10-row stands that are proposed for Rahway River Park. You will notice that the poles and safety netting for the throwing rings are taller than the stands. I suggest anybody that's interested make a trip down to Warnaco Park. It's easier to envision what's planned for Rahway River Park when you see what's already been done in Warnaco. During the presentation on the 1st, they repeatedly referred to what has been completed in Warnaco. Another thing the site map does not show is the actual area required to hold the track and field throwing events. Consider the discus, for example. The throwing ring is 8 feet, 2.5 inches in diameter. That would probably fit in your kitchen. But besides the ring you throw from, you need an area to throw to. A landing area, a pretty big landing area. In 2012, Sam Mattis from East Brunswick set the New Jersey high school discus record, 218 feet 4 inches. This past year, Sam was the NCAA National Discus Champion at the University of Pennsylvania. So in addition to the discus ring, you will also need a fan-shaped area extending over 200 feet from the ring for the discuses to land in. And this landing area cannot include any part of the proposed synthetic turf field. The gentleman from the engineering firm confirmed at the July 1st meeting that the shot put, discus, and javelin cannot be thrown onto the synthetic turf fields. Therefore, areas of natural grass in the park will need to be reserved as landing areas for the track and field throwing events. If these areas are taken into account, I wonder if it's still accurate to claim that the facility will not, quote, encroach on any existing baseball or softball fields. I find it hard to see that this is possible. The gentleman from the engineering firm also discussed lighting in the park. He said currently there are 4 60-foot light stanchions around the tennis courts. These are the tallest lights in the park. The proposed plan calls for 4 70-foot light stanchions for the new football field. When I left the meeting on the 1st, I rode through the park. It was 8:40. The lights by the tennis courts were not turned on. I've gone back 3 nights since then, always between sunset and 9 o'clock. I have yet to see the 60-foot lights by the tennis courts turned on. Yet this proposal has the taxpayers paying for 4 more lights by the football field for a football team that up until now has only played day games. Doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good evening. My name is Loretta Decker. I reside on Union County Parkway in Clark. I have lived there for 48 years. Prior to that, I grew up in Rahway. Went to Rahway High, graduated. Prior to that, I went to St. Mary's in Rahway. Walked by Veterans Field twice a day for 9 years. I don't know why you're vacating Veterans Field. It works. It's not broken. And what little needs to be done, I'm sure your engineers can do. Now, I want to talk to you about crumb rubber. Crumb rubber is comprised of 4 chemicals, which are carcinogens. They grind up 40,000 truck tires for 1 field with the powder and the crumb rubber put in with the astroturf. Now, I don't understand how you can plan on doing this and tell the public it's not going to affect them as far as it being a carcinogen. And being that I live in that area, I am really riled over this. When 9/11 happened, the ash from the World Trade Center came out in my yard. It was on my windowsills, on my tables, on everything. I'm closer to Rahway Park. So I can imagine it's going to be all over. I don't want to breathe that. I don't want anybody I know to breathe that. As far as traffic, who needs more traffic? We have got Clark Commons opening in August. We have another shopping center on Westfield and Brent. They're advertising to build there. We've got 39 units over on the Mealy's property, which generates probably 2 or 3 cars each unit. Last month I was going around the Clark Circle, and I happened to realize I was there for a long time. There was no construction going on. It took me 9 minutes from the hotel to get around the circle to get on the parkway going south. I thought, what if somebody had a heart attack? This is Clark. When I moved to Clark 48 years ago, my way of in and out to St. George Avenue was naturally the park. There was nothing there. A pond and roads. Now you've got the park so busy that I don't think you realize how busy it is. How can you plan on adding anything that's going to bring us this kind of traffic? On holidays, I stay home. Why? Because I've got to watch my yard, watch my property. Because you've got people coming from all over. I've had people trespass in my yard. And when I say, can I help you? Isn't this the park? That's the answer I get. I don't want what you're planning for Rahway Park. Now, Monday I got my tax bill. In there was a letter from my mayor, Mayor Bonacorso, and he mentions all this about protecting the water and don't drop things in so it gets in the water. And I say, well, what about Crum Rubber? You're gonna get the rain, it's gonna flood right down. On Union County Parkway is the lowest basin there. The water comes out of the park, it comes from all over. I have pictures, my street floods, because the water has no place to go. The pond needs dredging, so that water would have some place to go. I guess in closing, I want to say, with all the tax money I'm paying, why aren't things done in Clark for us rather than looking at a stadium? I look out across the street, it's stagnant, mosquitoes. 2 or 3 times a week, I put on the rubber gloves and go out and clean up everybody's mess that they've dropped on my lawn, driving by at night. The liquor bottles,
Thank you very much for your comments.
well, I brought you some reading matter.
Thank you very much.
Who do I give this
You can
to?
give that to the clerk. Anyone else wishing to be heard?
I don't think you're very interested.
Please not speak out during the meeting.
Yeah, John Burry of Kenworth. And normally I agree with the Rahway people, but their conspiracy theory that this is going to be supposed to be some kind of moneymaker for Union County is just bizarre. I would challenge them to name anything that Union County built that taxpayers wound up benefiting from and making money on. I think that's completely off the wall. I mean, you look at the Galloping Hill Clubhouse, 15, 20 million, and now they have an occasional Union County means business thing and a fireworks show every now and then. It's not about them the county making money or whatever. Well, if it happens, it's a nice thing and all that, but it's not the primary reason. I was at the meeting July 1st, and I noticed, obviously, the questions were limited to only purpose, use, and the obvious question, or the obvious questions, there were a bunch of them, is why it was built, who paid Negley Engineering this, and these kind of things aren't answered. And the reason they aren't answered is my own little conspiracy theory, which is Negley the county paid Negley like $200,000 to build this stuff. They're going to build it through the Union County Improvement Authority. It's going to cost $5 million. Meta Architects, if you build stadiums, but you could ask them, is going to get most of that. Contractors, whatever, contributors. The CODIS is going to get $300,000. That's the reason they're building this thing, not for any other purpose or whatever, to make money. I mean, that's bizarre. To make money for Union County.
Or help the people.
It's to repay campaign donors, pretty much. Now, I notice it's off the agenda now. I mean, I do have the draft copy, and it was one of those right near the end that there was going to be something with the Board of Ed. Maybe there was a snafu. But the good news for these people is maybe that $50 million that Rahway is going to pump into the Union County Improvement Authority, possibly to CODIS and NETA and all those other people are going to be happy with that money, and they'll just forget this project. I think that's the way to go. All these charts and all, they're not going to work. I mean, you can get the CODIS happy and, with money from another source, and this thing might go away. But that's about the only way it's going to go away.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else wishing to heard?
I'm from Cranford. My name is Lee Daniel. I go to Rahway River Park a lot because my parents live adjacent to the park. And it's hard for me to believe that any of the freeholders have visited Rahway River Park because it really is a very beautiful location. And when you first enter, there is a very big, beautiful green space vista that is very, as humans, we have to face the fact that everybody needs to be revitalized and re-energized. And this park provides that because Union County doesn't have very much open space left. And the park is a very important central part of nourishment and replenishment for individuals. If you had come to the park, you would know how important that is. And you would also know that it is not possible from a parking perspective that this project could be sustained here. The next thing that is going to have to happen is a parking lot. And I'm asking the question when I go into the park, you know, the decimation of our open space, and what's going to happen next? We're going to take away the picnic tables and everything else so we can have a parking space, and that is the end of the park. The end of the park is coming with this, and I wish that we would take that into account. This park is a really important part of that area of Union County. And depriving people of their open space and their ability to, you know, there are a lot of people who can't afford to go on vacations and leave. You know, if you want to look at it, this is the park for the peasants, okay? We need to have places where we can go and rejuvenate and reconnect with nature. And I want to mention also that this is a very big habitat for nature. There are all sorts of species of animals in that park, and this is going to disrupt that. And, you know, as caretakers of Earth, we should be taking that into account. The size and scale of this thing really is going to require a parking lot. You're not taking everything into consideration here. And this is the beginning of the end of the parks. And because I live in Cranford, I also visit Rahway, Echo Lake Park. And I have to say that I am unhinged by this whole prospect. I go to Echo Lake Park almost every morning. And I look around now, and I say to myself, and what's going to be confiscated here? Because obviously, we're setting a precedent that if you don't think every town in Union County isn't eyeing the parks and saying to themselves, oh, look what they gave to Rahway, what can we carve up in the other parks? You are underestimating the future. And I wish that, you know, this colossal, foolhardy calamity that, you know, this has got to stop. This really just can't happen. And I am really unhinged by the rendering. I mean, I had some idea of what this was going to look like, but I almost feel like I'm going to cry when I see what it really is going to look like. And you are not considering how important this park is to the people in that area.
My name is Thomas Sopiano, live in Clark. I've been walking our park for the last 40 years, and I think nothing but beautiful park is at Rahway Park. Everybody walking our park, and I ask, we talk about the state of everybody opposed, nobody wants the state. Now, I read Union County, a 7 county in the state of New Jersey that got the highest tax in the United States. Rahway, the tax is so high. Now, instead of creating jobs in Rahway, any county, it's all you just do is raise the tax and chase all the business away. If you go to Rahway, they'll be spending so much money to send. I walk away during the day and I see one person more. You go at night and I see no person. They all waste the money. Instead, what they should do, they should create a job and build a factory back, not to let it chase all the factory away. And that's what you guys do. Raise the tax. Over here, another 10 years, 20 years, it's going to be like Greece, United States, and not United States no more. That's all I got to say.
Number 3, I guess, let's talk about the Rahway Park. And, you know, I've commented on occasion, but a fellow Jeff from the Rahway Environmental Commission actually said it right. What is Union County's business plan and customers? Because I agree with him. I was going to speak about this before he mentioned it. He was well versed in asking that question. What exactly are you building this for? Because I don't see anything. The only thing I can come up with, and I suggest this to you, but you ignored it, was Union County College is looking for a major stadium, and they have millions of dollars, and yet you're somehow thinking about building it somewhere else. Well, that would be a perfect win situation for Union County, win situation for Rahway, win situation for the college, maybe a loss for everybody in the rest in the county. But at least there is your reason why you would be building. So I, along with Jeff, what is your plan? Why are you building this specifically? Because this is a major stadium.